I'm so grateful for you, Patty, being here with us today. I know you are very busy. You've been doing incredible things, literally all over the globe, part of your process. But you did an amazing chapter in the Empowering Women in STEM book, and I loved that you talked about it coming full circle for you. And I thought that was like so amazing. Um, Seeing the way that everything played out to get to that point was really very interesting. And I was so glad that you brought us along for that journey. So, without further ado, Patty, Michelle, tell the world, what is it that you do on a regular basis besides saving the world, of course, because I know you do that. It's easy for you to do.
So on a regular basis,
Yeah.
I work in global public health
Hmm.
on digital health initiatives, and I'm also a mom to an amazing 13-year-old
Oh
boy.
boy. Yes.
And so, and I write fiction. So
Mhm.
I teach. I'm an academic, so
Yep.
I teach at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health.
Right.
So lots of different things
Yes.
that I am
So
doing.
many different hats. You just jump from one to another, and I know you always manage somehow to get everything done in your busy schedule. But tell us a little bit about why you wrote this chapter, because I know when we started talking about it, you're like, I'm not sure if I am a woman in STEM. And I think that's a question that a lot of people have. They don't know if they should be called a woman in STEM,
Yep.
if they qualify, if it is something that they want to do or want to be recognized as. Tell us about that part and like that part of your journey and just getting the chapter into the book because it's an amazing chapter, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, it was so fun to write the
Mhm.
chapter
Yes.
because it was like amazing to watch, and to kind of
Right.
like document my journey
Hmm.
and when I was a kid, I loved, science and math, but I also loved art and
Hmm.
had this like very creative side to me and writing.
Yes.
And so when I was able to kind of bring together my kind of fiction writing
Right.
and my career in public health, in this book that I wrote with my son during the pandemic, The Antidotes Pollution
Hmm.
Solution, it was this like fun opportunity to like connect the dots
Yeah.
between kind of like where I came from and then like
Hmm.
where I ended up. And I think because I work in public health,
Yeah.
you know, like public health is a social science.
Hmm.
We don't like, I mean, it has a lot of foundational sciences
Yes.
in it.
Yes.
Um, but I like never really like thought of myself as
Hmm.
like a woman in STEM. And the irony of it is that I work in technology and health, right? So I
Yes.
work in digital health. So I work in the like in the
Yes.
T part and in the science part,
Yes,
and
you
and
do.
I never, would have called myself a woman in STEM, even though I was like the head of my like science club
Hmm.
in high school and like
Yeah.
all these things. But like it never occurred to me to
Yeah.
like think of myself in that way until I
Right.
wrote this book, and then people
Wow.
started to refer to me
Yes.
as a woman in STEM, and I was like, oh,
Oh.
like a what? And then I had to, really think twice about it,
Uh-huh.
and kind of own the
Right. Yes,
the
definitely.
moniker of woman in STEM. Um, and I'm really proud to be, to
Yes,
be a woman in
definitely. You
STEM.
are. Because, like, you've been doing so much good work. And back to that book that you published with your son, like, I thought it was very inspiring to have the way that the characters are played, the way that they talk about different things, and the fact that you had so much representation in the book. I loved, absolutely loved that. So
Yeah.
that people and younger kids could actually see themselves in those positions and, you know, without giving away too much about the book, try to find solutions. And that's what we all really here to do,
Yeah.
find solutions to figure out what we can with the resources that we have available. Because
Yeah.
sometimes we don't have the resources available. And in the books, they're very creative. Like, they're thinking through solutions. So, huge thank you to you and your son for doing something very creative during the pandemic. Not everybody can say they did something creative during the pandemic, but.
No, it was a great project. And I think one of the nice things is that now that I've published that book for middle graders and I
Mm,
go and I do school visits,
yes,
um, it really makes a difference to
nice.
sort of be an example
Mm-hmm.
for younger girls and for boys
Yep.
of what like a woman in STEM looks
Yes.
like, works on, thinks about,
Yeah.
etc. Um, and you never know when somebody
No.
is going to find, inspiration in your story. And so it's
Yep.
it's always so like fascinating to me. Like
Yes.
I love people's stories and I love reading the other stories
Yes.
in the book because
Yeah.
like we all need to tell our stories and we all
Yes.
need to hear each other's stories because there's so
Mm-hmm.
many, commonalities or
Yes.
intersecting things and then you can sort of gain some, inspiration and not
Yeah.
feel so alone because it can be very
Right.
lonely
Yes,
as
and that's
a
the
woman in
thing about
STEM.
it. You're
Yeah.
always like, I'm the only woman in the room.
Right.
What do I do? I've never been in this position before, but here you have this book that sort of captures all of that. And there are other women who've been in this position before and who've, been able to navigate these challenges that, we call them challenges, but it may just be, small little obstacles that we have to get over and figure out how to, navigate properly and with a lot of grace. Because I know in some cases you may not be able to be as graceful as you want to be.
No, no. And I think sometimes, yeah, one of the notions that I'm like playing around with is
Yeah.
is this notion of like mom energy is,
Oh, what is
are
that?
we, do we like, push down this like aspect of ourselves
Mm.
to appear more, you know, like our male counterparts
Ah,
in
that's
leadership
interesting.
roles, etc. And do we do it at like the detriment, like our own detriment, but also
Mm-hmm.
the detriment of the world? And
Yeah.
so when I look at things like, the manosphere, I'm like,
Mm.
the manosphere could do with a little mom energy. Um,
Yeah.
to like the kindness, the
Yeah.
protectiveness, the
Mm-hmm.
tough love,
Yeah.
the way that that like our moms, saw the best in us and
Mm-hmm.
wanted the best for
Right.
us
Yes.
and
Yes.
cared about our
Definitely.
futures. And yeah, and so I'm starting to play around with this
Oh.
thought that maybe we need to like to bring more of our lived experience
Mm-hmm.
and who we are into the places that we work,
Yes.
particularly as women in STEM, because we have both the scientific,
Uh-huh.
training and knowledge, but then
Uh-huh.
we also have the characteristics of
Mm-hmm.
what it is to like really care and
Yep.
and be passionate and want to kind of see things be better
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
see people be better and see the good in people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then that, jumps into the whole thing about authenticity and bringing your full authentic self to the workplace and to whatever you do. So I love that you touched on that because it's something that a lot of women in engineering don't do because exactly like you said, they want to be part of the boys club. They want to fit in. They don't want to stand out too much. They want to make sure that they're not being, I would say, picked on or bullied or something like that because they're different. And that's not what's going to change anything. You have
No.
to bring yourself. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't change until you do that because you are different and there's a reason why you're in that space. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Patty. So glad.
Yeah. No, it's something I'm like I've been like thinking a lot about because
Yeah.
I know for myself I've done the same thing where
Yeah.
I've like worn the like, you
Yeah.
know, and sort of like put myself into
Mm-hmm.
this very sort of like masculine
Right.
posture,
Yeah.
and it doesn't suit me. Like
No.
it's so
It
not me.
doesn't. It doesn't, and I think it's about time that we all realize that we should not have to fit into that mold that is being portrayed. And unless you really bring your authentic self, then you're not going to make much of a difference. You're just adding to the stats at that point, you know. You're not making the change that you're supposed to make or the impact that you're supposed to make because you're not getting to that point and you're not letting your full energy flow, you know, for lack of a better word.
No, and you're limiting yourself,
Yeah,
right? You're
you are.
limiting yourself to like a certain way
Yes.
of like being and doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you know, I think there's like so much that
My
we
gosh.
can and should be doing like
Yes.
as ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in in these spaces.
Yeah, because you should really be yourself, because that's who you are.
Yeah. And it's what we tell our kids,
It
right?
is,
Like we tell our
exactly.
children, like, you know, be yourself. And then
Yeah,
we go off
and we don't.
and we don't do it ourselves.
Oh my gosh. What would you tell the future generation? Just to, you know, get them interested in STEM or get them excited, or even people who are not in STEM right now
No.
and they probably want to do that crossover. What would you tell them to get involved in STEM? Especially because you never thought that you were a woman in STEM until you wrote this chapter.
No. Yeah, no, I think, you know, I think what I would say is that, you know, STEM is not just for like the science geeks
Yes.
that you know, enjoy, you know, tinkering around
Mhm.
with in labs and building things.
Right.
It's really for everyone. And
Hmm.
so it is a part of everyday life, right?
Hmm.
Like the whole world exists and is like waiting to be like discovered and like made better
It is.
through, you know, little s, not necessarily
Yep.
like a big S.
Hmm.
And so like there are lots of different roles in
Yeah,
STEM that you can play. We need creative people, we need
we do.
artists, we need, you know, filmmakers,
Hmm.
and then we also need, you know, people with different ways of seeing the world
Yep.
to engage in, you know, STEM fields, and not just like a one size kind of fits
Yes,
all. Like we
definitely
need,
not.
you know, we need more, you know, more girls,
Yeah.
more, you know, people that come from, you know, different diverse
Hmm.
backgrounds, and also from, you know, just different disciplines,
Yeah.
different like passions.
Yeah, because that's how we will find a solution. We can't find a solution with the same people in the same background, in the same different, you know, the same stuff. Like it doesn't work like that. The only
No.
way to get, we need to get this holistically. We need to get all inputs involved. And that's the great thing about having diverse teams
Yeah.
involved for any situation because the way that I think and the way that somebody else would think, it's totally different. But if you bring those together, you can actually form an opinion that's never been formed before. And
Yeah.
that's
And
how you
come
save
up
the
with
world.
something that like is even better than what like either one of you could have come up with
On
by
your own.
yourself.
Yes, yes, definitely work together.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, Patty, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everything that you've been doing, changing the world, one bit at a time. You've been doing an incredible job. If you have not checked out Patty's chapter yet, you're missing out on quite a good chapter. Especially she talks about, you know, becoming a woman in STEM, true middle grade fiction. So check out chapter 17 in the new book, Empowering Women in STEM. Patty, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sonia, for all that you're doing to help raise the profile of women in STEM and create more role models.
Anything that I could do for that. Anything I could do for that. All right. Bye.
Bye.